can!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So, a good performance from both teams.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. On the show today, who is right to take over from Rohit Sharma as Test captain? Who's the ideal person for that job? The cricketing fraternity seem to be averse to the idea of a young team led by a young captain. But what solutions do the Indian Cricket Board have at this point, and what will actually work out? Japan, meanwhile, has proposed a first of its kind floating athletes games village for all the sportspersons and officials to stay in during the Asian Games. But is that an innovative idea that is heading towards disaster? And can Japan take a leaf out of Paris Games village blow up? Find out why. And Punjab IPL franchise co-owner and Bollywood actor Preeti Zinta loses her cool, hits back at a troll linking her up with Aussie cricketer Glenn Maxwell. But is there more to this story about the perception and bias when it comes to women top bosses and leaders in sports? All of that heading your way, but first a look at the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with cricket and the Indian Premier League, India's Cricket Board, BCCI, has allowed franchises to sign temporary replacements for the remainder of the season, as the new dates now clash with other international fixtures. With several international players still uncertain, the move comes as a relief. The temporary replacements, though, will remain ineligible for retention next year. In football, Real Madrid has delayed Barcelona's celebration party. The Spanish giants beat Mallorca 2-1 to stay alive in La Liga title race. After being behind in the tie, Kylian Mbappe leveled scores in the second half. Jacob Ramon scored the winner in stoppage time. With 2 matches still remaining, Barcelona need just 1 win now to clinch the La Liga title. Staying with football, sports governing body FIFA has lifted the suspension on the Republic of Congo. The country's football body was banned 3 months ago over third-party interference. The ban was lifted after Congolese Football Federation, FECAFOOT, agreed to the conditions laid by FIFA. In tennis, Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz has entered the semi-finals of the Italian Open. Alcaraz east passed Jack Draper in straight sets. He now faces Lorenzo Musetti. With this win, Alcaraz has now moved to number 2 in the world rankings. And summing it up with Formula One's motorsports governing body FIA has reduced the penalty imposed on drivers over swearing or criticizing officials. Earlier, a driver had to pay $45,000 over swearing. But following the backlash from all the drivers, FIA has now reduced it to $5,600. IPL is set to resume in less than 2 days, and while the excitement is building for cricket's premier tournament, there are concerns over the next chapter of Indian cricket, because following the retirement of 2 stalwarts, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, India's men's squad is headed for a major rejig. The biggest question, of course, is who will lead the Indian men's cricket team. Jasprit Bumrah had always stepped into that role, especially in the longest format in the past, leading many to believe that he would eventually take over the reins. But what we're hearing is that Shubman Gill is the front runner. But it's an idea that hasn't gone down too well in the Indian cricketing fraternity.
He is not even a certainty in Test cricket. The captaincy should be given to Jasprit Bumrah, and if he is not fit or available for any match, then KL Rahul or Rishabh Pant should lead India.
It's not easy being a fast bowler. He's had injuries. He was on a break after the Australia series and is only returning in this IPL. But I'd still go with Bumrah. Whenever he's not there, the vice captain comes in and takes over.
I am shocked that we are looking at any other option other than Bumrah as Test captain. Worried about his injuries? Then choose your vice captain carefully.
Many commentators clearly believe Bumrah has to be the Test captain. There are no two ways about it. He's the senior-most member in that Indian setup currently and a tested captain too. He took charge of India and led them to their sole win in that Border Gavaskar Trophy last year against Australia in Perth. So where's the concern really? It's the workload management. The long, arduous spells in Australia saw its impact. That took out Bumrah for the crucial Champions Trophy that came up afterwards. Yes, even though India managed to win the ICC events, the larger question still is, does India want a repeat of that? So safeguarding Bumrah becomes critical as he is an all-format bowler, one of the best in the world and India's lead pacer. And when you think of captaincy, you have to be a permanent fixture in that Indian lineup, no matter the opposition, no matter the conditions. Which is the reason why we looked at the other possible candidates, Shubman Gill, Rishabh Pant and KL Rahul. Rishabh Pant has fought a career-threatening exit from this sport itself and has proved to be a feisty character on the field, again an all-format player, but can he handle the pressures that come with captaincy? And does he have the maturity just yet that comes with helming such a huge responsibility? His stint with the Lucknow franchise doesn't really back him up here in this regard. KL Rahul would absolutely fit the bill. But again, working with someone like Gautam Gambhir as head coach only means the captain has to have a certain kind of temperament. Does KL Rahul have it in him to be that foil for Gambhir? And more importantly, does he want that captaincy role here in tests? Which is why the answer has to be Shubman Gill. He's definitely talented, an all-format player again, who if groomed and guided rightly can develop into a very solid, mature leader in those ranks, and someone whom Gambhir will be able to work alongside, especially after Gill's stint with Gujarat as skipper. You cannot look past the obvious. The franchise is top of the table currently and are one of the favourites in the tournament, and he hasn't just led them as a captain, he has performed as a batter. But the question is, can he do it in the longest format of the game for India, especially when his away form in Test cricket has been a bit of a concern.
I love watching him play. When you're watching him bat and bat well, he looks as good as anyone in world cricket. But the numbers don't really stack up, do they, away from home?
While Gill played most of India's matches last year, he has been found wanting when it comes to his performances, especially outside India. In his, of course, early young career, Gill has played 6 matches in Australia. That's just around 350 runs with an average of 35. 250s, but no big conversion there. The record gets worse when he travels to England, just 88 runs at an average of 14. In South Africa too, 74 runs at an average of 18 there. Not much to write home about, and he's yet to play in New Zealand. Again, very testing conditions that too. Which is why cricket voices strongly feel that if Gill is not a guaranteed starter, if his performances with the bat individually don't back him, how can he be the captain? Captains lead from the front. Virat Kohli did that majorly when he was in charge. Rohit Sharma did that too. That's what the best in the business do. And of course, when Rohit stopped doing that, he rested himself in that Border Gavaskar series. And stepped Bumrah, who also did the same when he was in Australia.
My first option for captaincy is Jasprit Bumrah. In England, firstly, it is cold there. It is not like Australia, where you will sweat and have cramps. His energy will be reserved. There will be relentless pressure like it used to be with West Indies. There will be no weight on his back. He will lead by example.
But what's the long-term solution? Bumrah captains when he plays and the vice-captain, probably Gill, steps in during his absence? Would that really work? It's for the think tank to ultimately decide if it does. Cricket as a sport has evolved. Gone are the days when only one captain had to be there for all formats across the different formats of the game. As the game and the formats also have really changed, so have the rules. Split captaincy also came up about. And leadership isn't just about wearing that captain's badge. It's about taking charge and bringing everyone together, working towards one vision and one goal. So while there is a very tough decision that lies ahead with the selection committee there and the Indian Cricket Board, there's opportunity, because whatever call they take, it will be a brave one that will have its fair share of challenges and hurdles, and ones that the new and young Indian setup will have to scale to try to achieve even greater heights and take Indian cricket forward. Multi-sport events are no longer just about the competitions. It has become a medium for creativity and the quest to stand out from the rest. We saw that during the 2024 Olympics when Paris wanted to make the event an eco-friendly one, and it spectacularly failed. But it feels like Japan, in its quest to host a flawless yet authentic Asian Games, may not be learning from the mistakes that France made. The country is set to host next year's Asian Games, and the biggest talking point has been that the players will compete on land and live on water. In a first, Japan has created a floating athletes' village. Here's what's not so dreamy about that situation. Living on water for over 15 days in itself is something we can all very rightfully be skeptical about. And guess what? The weeks during which the Asian Games is being held coincides with peak typhoon season. So is this ambitious experiment really wise? Especially when Paris gave a live demonstration last year of how easily even the best laid plans could go south. The Paris Olympics, of course, started with a lot of buzz. The fervor was around how the city is making the event an eco-friendly one. In fact, the most eco-friendly and innovative one ever. The medals had a piece of Eiffel Tower. There were no air conditioners in the athletes' room in the quest for that. Meat options were limited, and above all, they had anti-sex beds made out of cardboards. But all of this flattered to deceive, an episode that Paris would want to forget. The athletes were tired of the lack of protein options available. They complained about improper sleep because of lack of proper air circulation and ventilation in all of the rooms. The beds weren't just anti-sex, also anti-sleep. Many athletes even moved out of the village to check into hotels that proved to be far more comfortable. And that piece of glorious memory the winners took home, those ingenuously crafted medals, well, the sheen on those lasted lesser than the duration of the Olympics itself. Paris's failure in this regard was there for the world to see, so why then is Japan keen on tempting fate here with a floating games village, which, got to admit, sounds fantastic on paper but could turn out to be a bit of a nightmarish ordeal. One third of the total 15,000 athletes and officials will be housed on a luxury cruise ship that will be docked at a port. The village will have usual amenities from dining halls to gymnasiums to medical services and free internet. The organizers said they decided against constructing a games-specific infrastructure to cut down on costs. The Games is set to be organized from September 19th to October 4th in Aichi and Nagoya, a time frame that is peak typhoon season in the country. The Asian Games Coordination Committee, though, feels that Japan is more than capable of handling this.
The Japanese authorities are very experienced in dealing with natural disasters, and the OCA has every confidence that they will take adequate measures, especially in informing the athletes of the contingency plans.
The question is, irrespective whether Japan has contingency plans in place or not, is all of this worth the risk? And Japan has been in this situation before. In 2019, they hosted the Rugby World Cup. In an unprecedented event, 3 matches were cancelled owing to Typhoon Hagibis. A typhoon that was so destructive, it killed more than 100 people and caused a lot of flooding. Even during the 2021 Olympics, contingency plans were made in case of emergency to evacuate athletes. And to think that Nagoya is particularly vulnerable to flooding in the event of a tsunami much more than Tokyo. Reason, it is a coastal city with many rivers. And 15,000 athletes and officials are expected to participate in the Games, as I've mentioned. If there is even the slightest of a hint of a warning, shouldn't the athletes ideally be kept as far away from it as possible? Because athletes have enough on their plate to worry and think about. Their focus should primarily be on performing and winning for their countries, and not on how to get evacuated in time of a disaster. Sure, the idea to make such events and such huge events more sustainable should always be a priority, but keeping what as leverage? Preeti Zinta is in the news. The Bollywood actor who co-owns the Punjab IPL franchise is grabbing all the headlines. It's not for her team's splendid performance this year, though that's something to talk about too. It's not for her upcoming acting assignments, though there are some exciting ones in the pipeline. Preeti Zinta has exploded on the internet because she gave it back to a troll, something many popular figures are told to and advised against doing. Why waste time retorting to trolls whose only purpose is to elicit a response? Get the celebrity in question here to notice him or her and validate them in some way by responding to their jibes. But Zinta had none of that in her mind. By the looks of it, she had had enough, and maybe this was the last straw. So what happened? Take a look. A troll who clearly has very little knowledge of the game itself remarked that the reason why Glenn Maxwell's form took a hit is because he did not hook up with Preeti Zinta. Zinta chose to respond and was scathing and firm in her reaction. She pointed out the bias in the statement, saying no man in a similar position of power would ever be put in such a spot. No man's role would ever be belittled. She says she's earned her stripes as a co-owner now for 18 years and doesn't need to hear any such taunts and jibes being made. She highlights a key personal experience here, saying she did not realize how tough it was for women in a corporate setup, clearly telling us this definitely was not the first instance of bias that she has had to deal with or encounter. Now, Zinta is definitely a strong feminine presence in that Punjab management. She's vivacious, wears her heart on her sleeve. She laughs and applauds and twirls when things go in her team's way. But that doesn't give anyone the free pass to objectify her in the manner this troll just did. And it isn't just her. For some time now, Kavya Maran has been the face of Hyderabad IPL ownership. And yet again, the reference to her looks, what she wears, how she smiles and interacts with the cricketers after a game becomes the focal point of her presence itself. Sure, she may not have the kind of cricket acumen to match those of the experts in the franchise, but there are people hired to take care of just that. She's never made that as part of her portfolio. She's a team owner. She has other larger responsibilities to take care of. Same applies to many other male team owners in that IPL setup like Shah Rukh Khan or even Sanjeev Goenka. Their primary role is not to be a cricket tactician. Even so, even if we discard this incident with Zinta as a troll's comment, nothing that needs to be given relevance, there are sports reporters, those who are trained to bring out the different perspectives and build a credible narrative, an unbiased narrative, faltering. Like when we saw this exchange at a Women's Premier League press conference recently. This was just some months ago. Smriti Mandhana was attending one of her first press conferences as the captain of the WPL defending champions Bengaluru, something they haven't achieved in IPL yet. And the reporter asks her how great she feels that she shares her jersey number with that of one of her male counterparts for the same franchise, Virat Kohli. She refused to answer that question, and kudos to her for that. This isn't the first time such a question has been asked to women athletes, but surely one of the first times that the woman cricketer being asked this has refrained from entertaining it. Ever heard of journalists asking a male cricketer who their favourite female cricketer was? Because maybe the women leaders in sport have also had enough. Sure, men's cricket has a bigger legacy, purely because they've been around for much longer. But the point of women's sport here, or women in sport in various capacities, is to make their own mark, create and establish their own space, one that shouldn't have the bearings of their male counterparts on. Because they never did. They existed, grew, strengthened, and flourished in their own right, in their own space. And that is probably all that these women are asking as well. Time for last serve. World number 1 Yannick Sinner had an audience with the newly elected Pope Leo. Leo, who has taken a keen interest in tennis, was presented with a racket, one of Sinner's own. Yannick Sinner, of course, made a return to international tennis recently after his doping suspension. Clearly, he's washed off his sins too with this blessed visit. Take a look.
Piacere. Onorato. Grazie. Ieri sera. Piccolo. Sì. Vi presento anche la signora. Piacere.
La mia racchetta.
Spesso la racchetta è tutto uguale. Bene, bene.
Sì, quindi... Non meglio di no.
Noi gli abbiamo portato la tessera simbolica.
Sì, quando siamo entrati a inizio torneo era un po' difficile, che non sapevamo, ora con 3 partite. Quindi coraggio. Grazie mille, davvero, è stato un grande piacere.
That wraps it up here on First Sports. I'll catch you again tomorrow. Till then, take care. Bye-bye. At Firstpost, we are choosing to hold on to accuracy. That means we won't always be first. We may not get you your breaking alert. But what you will get is what we owe you. And that is the truth. Verified, checked, and cross-checked. We rely on sources and verified ones. After all, that's what separates a journalist from a loudspeaker. But sometimes even we miss a beat. And when we do, we will tell you. Like yesterday, we ran visuals from a registered news agency. That visual turned out to be fake. So we are taking accountability. And from now on, we will cite the source of every visual. Every picture, every video that you see on Firstpost will have a source mentioned. That is our commitment to you. We will wait, we will verify, we will ask again, and only then will we tell you. No noise, no panic, just the facts. Because right now, that is what the country needs most.